We're investigating how child welfare workers are using ICTs in their work with children and families. And ICTs, those are things we're all familiar with, like telephones, email, texting, social media.
Larry Dennis, Dean of the College of Communication and Information, and Jim Clark, Dean of Social Work, knew there were some opportunities for the two colleges to work together, and in particular knew about Karen's interest in IT use among child welfare social workers. And so they just basically introduced us, but also have been very generous in giving us support.
Well, ultimately, we'd like to go large scale with this once we become familiar with what's been going on in the community with regard to how child welfare workers are using their ICTs. This is really driven from the need to help improve the work lives of the child welfare workers. We have a pretty substantial turnover here in Florida and around the country.
Well, my dad worked as a mental health therapist. I noticed that there was some hesitation in the adoption of newer technologies amongst mental health therapists and social workers. So I'm hoping that the results of this project allow us to highlight the effects of a proficiency of using ICT amongst child welfare workers.
People's experiences in the moment that they're happening are often difficult for us as researchers to measure and to try to quantify. So the experience sampling method asks people during their everyday lives to fill out a short survey about what they're doing. That way you avoid memory biases, you avoid false experimental conditions, and you get a really good idea of what people are doing in their everyday lives. This is the app PACA, which we use to give surveys to our participants. When they get a ping, they get a little indication that pops up, and then they click on participate. And it asks them if they've used any ICT since the last time they were pinged. And if they say yes, they get a bunch of other questions. It'll ask them how many times they used it. It'll ask them where they were when they were using it. It'll ask them what kind of ICT they were using. Next, it's going to ask them what they were using the ICT for. And also if they were using it to address an urgent situation. Finally, it asks them how useful the ICT was and how comfortable they were using it. And then they hit submit and they wait for the next ping.
For me, it was a really great opportunity to work with a bunch of different professionals from different fields, which we don't always get to do. And it was really interesting to see how the collaborative approach is super beneficial in research and how everyone was able to bounce ideas off each other and use different perspectives.